You probably know the feeling, sweaty, fast breathing, quick heart rate. That's a cortisol spike. It feels awful, and its imbalance is the cause of your anxiety. Rebalance Health's 3-part anxiety system helps address it at the root. Rebalance Health lozenges are natural and designed for optimal absorption, providing 24-hour relief. Live life fully without feeling like you're fighting for it. Get 50% off your first month with code CALM23 at rebalancehealth.com.
New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Hope you guys are having a good Thursday. Been a busy week here. My high schoolers are back in school. My youngest starts Monday, so been running all over, getting things. You know how it is. Real quick, good news. Judge Boyce has approved Nate Eaton's request from East Idaho News to live stream that hearing next week on the 16th. I know we all going to be watching that real close. Can't wait to see body language, see if they give each other googly eyes or if somebody's going to stare straight ahead and pretend like the other doesn't exist. So anyways, real quick, want to give a big thank you to Celeste and Brian for your donations. I do appreciate that. Quick music fact before we get started. Jimi Hendrix could not read music and taught himself to play the guitar. John Lennon told Playboy the Beatles also could not read or write music. Other famous musicians who could not read music: Bob Dylan, Aretha Franklin, Eric Clapton, and Elvis Presley. There you go. See, you don't have to read music to be amazing at what you do. All right. So where we left off, we were talking about the move to Rexburg. And we got around August 31st. So we know on the 30th is when Colby says that he last saw everybody. And then if you remember, the last thing we talked about was Alex saying that Zulema asked how the move was. Alex said, pretty good considering the dark portal we brought with us. And Alex said, Tylee, can you call a tornado for a single person? Zulema says, maybe an inner tornado. Alex says, inner is good. Zulema says, I think you guys will be led to deal with the dark one when it's time. Alex says, agreed, it's true. Lord have mercy. All right, so last night I was also going through the documents again. Like I said, we may time travel a little bit backwards when I find something I didn't include. This is kind of minor, but in the documents last night, I found that Jason Mao had to give his financials to Chandler PD. And it seems like August the 3rd and the 4th, he was in Rexburg. He bought some pizza in Rexburg on the 3rd and a purchase at BYUI on the 4th. And it also showed payment for a rental car and gas. Actually, I think the 3rd was BYUI and pizza. Anyway, so it doesn't seem like Glory was there at the time, but, you know, it's Rexburg. And he's named in these documents. So anyways, on August 30th, we're going to go back again. Zulema texted Lori wanting to come say goodbye before they leave Arizona for Rexburg. So at 12:41 p.m., Zulema asked, what are you guys doing this evening? I want to come by and say goodbye. Lori says, please do. I should be home packing up. And Zulema says, I will come straight from work, asks if she wants her to grab something to eat. Lori doesn't respond to this until 6:52 p.m. She said she's just leaving Alex's house and should be home in 45 minutes. And she asked Zulema, is she already on her way? Zulema said, 10 minutes, I will be. Lori says she's picking up JJ and then she will be home. So regarding the move to Rexburg, Melanie Gibb told Nate Eaton from East Idaho News that Lori didn't decide until August that she was going to make that move to Idaho. Because at first she thought Chad would come to be with her in Arizona. And then she told Gibb, I changed my plans. I'm supposed to be up there. He says, I'm supposed to be up there, but I need to get my own answer. Gibb said she really didn't want to go there at first. And then she said, I was told, yes, I need to go. And she needed to be there by a certain time. So that's when Lori made her mind up to go. She said, I'm like, isn't that going to be awkward? She was uncomfortable with it. And Lori believed that Tammy was going to pass away, though, before she got up there. And that didn't happen. She said, and then Gibb said, maybe she'll see you guys together, because you're moving all up there on her husband. So Gibb also told Dateline she gave other people a story that she was going to get a job there. But her and I both knew it wasn't about a job. It was about her connecting with Chad and living up there and being a part of their mission. They didn't want anybody to stop them from being together. Nate, going back to the interview with Nate, he asked, how was Tammy going to die? And Gibbs said, I heard a few times maybe through a car accident or something like that. Then in May of 2020, Colby was on Dateline. Also, Kay and Larry were on that episode. And Colby said, every time I did reach out, hey, Ty, I love you, it'd be like, hey, love you, super busy. Or Lori would say, that Tylee was busy. And then Colby would text his mom, is Tylee okay? And Lori would say the same thing, that she was super busy. At the same time, Kay and Larry are trying to get in touch with JJ and Lori. And Larry said, we called Lori so many times. Kay said, I emailed her, texted her, left voicemails, everything. She said, please, whatever. They just want to see JJ. So in an interview with Fox 13 Salt Lake City, a neighbor of Lori's gave an interview to them. So the first week of September 2019, Tylee was seen by this neighbor who helped Lori and Alex move into their townhomes. The neighbors said they helped him move in a few weeks before school started. And the neighbor only met Tylee that one time and never saw her again. Lori told the neighbor that Tylee had moved there to attend college, as she was telling everybody, including, I think, Tylee. According to a report on KSL 5 TV, Lori didn't inform the neighbors that JJ had autism and told at least two neighbors that JJ was her niece's drug baby after she was confronted by those neighbors about JJ's behavior and his lack of supervision. And you have to consider, we know she wasn't medicating him. They had found that bottle with some pills left. I believe maybe the last time that was filled was way back in January. And I'm going to tell you, if you've been around a child with autism who has not had their medication, it can be night and day in their behaviors. They can be just more emotional. They can be aggressive. It's just super important for kids that are on medications for autism that it's consistently given, because it, helps calm down some behaviors that without the medication, clearly the neighbor saw. So on September the 2nd, at this point, they are in Rexburg. I want to throw up on YouTube some pictures of the inside of the actual apartment that Lori lived in. This is Unit 175 at 565 Pioneer Road. It'll come in later about the cabinets here. When Melanie Gibb and David Warwick come into town, the last time JJ was seen, other than Lori and Alex, was by Melanie and David the night he was murdered. So anyways, you can just see it's just a, kind of a nice little apartment. And but these cabinets, allegedly, according to Lori, JJ climbed up on them. Don't see how that happened. So that's the inside of the apartment that they lived in Rexburg. So September 2nd, Lori texts Zulema at 7:02 at night. Hope you're doing good, little girl. I'm missing you. We got here last night, working nonstop to set up here. You are awesome. I felt a lot about the earthquakes while we passed over Hoover Dam in Vegas. It's going to be bad. San Andreas will destroy it. Listen, before I read Zulima's text, can I just say Zulima's like that one friend you dread texting because she's always going to have some ailment. Like she was the biggest hypochondriac because pretty much every text to Chad was like, I got a buzzing in my ear. I was throwing up. So Zulima says, I was attacked so horribly yesterday. I spent the day in bed. Chad is working on me, but he said they put spiritual toxins in me. I felt like I've been poisoned. Everything was coming back up. Feel much better now. Zulima, girl. That's what we call either norovirus or food poisoning. Ain't no spiritual toxins in there. So she goes on to say, I bought my ticket to see you guys on the 15th, and I'm very excited to be there. I noticed the day after we worked on the earthquakes, there was one on the coast by Oregon, but then I started looking south, down the line of the fault. There were earthquakes all the way from Mexico to South America and 8 earthquakes off the coast of Antarctica. It was crazy. Lord Jesus, help me with this woman. Okay, so September 3rd, Lori enrolls JJ at school in Rexburg. And at 10 a.m., Alex texts Lori asking what she was doing. So Lori responded she was working on Z's, which is zombies. He says, what did you decide on username and password? Alex would tell Lori that he was proud of her and says, no more Z's, zombies. Lori replied, we are trying to get to the bottom of what we need to do to eliminate them completely. I'm sure you will be told also. Alex says, I'm going to get lunch and probably go to the range to sight in my rifles. That's literally what it says. Probably a typo. Lori says, hey, bad news on our brother. Alex says, what's that? Lori says, Z. Alex says, really? When was that? How convenient. Lori says, as of early January. Well, remember, early January is when Alex and Charles, we don't know if they started talking that early, but we know by the end of January, they were actively talking about Lori being cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So Alex says that explains his interest in Charles. Lori said Ned recruited him shortly after. This is why. He's part of the 24. Alex says that made sense. Wow. Lori says more sad news. Guess who is the final Z of the 24? And Alex says Pops or Brandon. And then it's redacted. I don't think that they liked their dad very much. Janice and Barry both were low on the trusted people list. But Lori said, nope. Think of Judas, who loved me completely, then turned against me. Alex says, tell me. Lori says, yes, our sweet Adam. He's in paradise, the real Adam. It finally makes sense. So Alex wanted to know, when did it happen? And Lori says, about the time he turned, it makes sense. He being dedicated to Brandon and Ned. Alex said, so February? And Lori says, yep. Alex wanted to know, how did Adam die, or was he forced out? Lori said, it's crazy, I know, but it's sad and true. Now we know all 24. Forced out, I think, with his anxiety, he wasn't strong enough to fight back. And Alex puts in, Lori says JJ is stronger, fights them off every day. Adam was a 3 light. JJ is a 4.3 light. Alex says that's when he yells, no. And that's literally what he typed out, y'all. Lori said, yep. Alex says, are you going to tell Shish about Adam or question mark? Shish, I would assume maybe is Summer, their sister, who I thought she said she didn't know anything about light or dark scales. Now, I'm kind of speculating here, and I talked on the last episode that I don't want to speculate, but I can't think of Shish. Who else would Shish be? Of course, they all have some funky names for people. Ain't no telling. Lori said no, and it's redacted. Trust level is too low. Alex says, okay, my lips are sealed. Lori says, good boy. Learning more, I'll fill you in this afternoon. So on September 3rd, Alex sends Zulima a picture of a rifle with the scope and says he's at the range. At 11:13 a.m., Lori responds to Zulima, can't wait for you to come here. Surely they are trying to stop you. They know you will love it here. And Zulima asks Lori if she can talk, and Lori says 5 minutes. So at 5:36, Lori texts Zulema, sorry, JJ had a super huge meltdown after his first day at school today. So much change. I'm trying to get him to bed early tonight, then I'll be free to talk, like in an hour or so. Of course, JJ is experiencing trauma. His dad has disappeared. He understands what heaven is, in spite of what Lori says. She has uprooted him from the school that he is comfortable at, his friends, his cousins, to a place where he knows nobody. And at this point, Tylee's still around, but unfortunately not for long. This whole situation is a perfect storm for any child with autism, hands down. Zulema said, at the temple today, I went to work on the earthquakes. And as soon as I said, I'm an angel of light, and I traveled to, light showed up. The brightest, most beautiful light. And it stayed with me the whole time I worked in California and Utah. I was going to have you ask, who was it that came with me today? Lori said, oh, it was us. Our assignment is together. We appear as one light. Last time you saw us as two pillars. We are one now. Brighter than ever. Let's talk today when you have a chance. Yesterday was a crazy day. So you see, we're still just doing all this stuff about zombies and the 24 people. You know, you think about it, a lot, pretty much all of this, other than body cam and interviews, comes from the Chandler document dump or the Gilbert document dump from Brandon Boudreaux's attempted murder. What Rexburg must have for trial has to be bad. And I don't know that we're all ready to hear exactly what happened once they moved to Rexburg. But at the same time, you know, to know what happened will enlighten us a lot in good ways and bad. So September 5th, Lori withdraws JJ from school in Arizona, and she emailed staff this. And now it's time for a word from our paid sponsor of the week, Everlywell. If you've been experiencing symptoms and don't know where to start, Everlywell is committed to listening and supporting your journey towards better health and wellness. The Everlywell Women's Health Test measures 11 biomarkers known to play a role in your overall health and wellness, and checks for any abnormal levels that may be keeping you from feeling your best. Here's how it works. Everlywell ships products straight to you with everything needed in one package. To take your at-home lab test, simply collect your sample and use the included prepaid shipping label to mail your test back to a certified lab. Your physician-reviewed results get sent to your phone or device in just days. Then you can share the results with your primary care physician to help guide your next steps. If you ordered vitamin and supplements, you can start adding them to your daily routine right away. It's really simple. Over 1 million people have trusted Everlywell to support their health and wellness goals, and you should too. Personally, I took the metabolism test and found out I was lacking in several areas, which explains why I've been feeling really run down lately. I discussed the results with my doctor, and now we have a game plan to get me back to feeling energetic all day and not just in the morning. And for listeners of Pretty Lies and Alibis, Everlywell is offering a special discount of 20% off an at-home lab test at everlywell.com/whattheworld. That's everlywell.com/whattheworld for 20% off your next at-home lab test. everlywell.com/whattheworld. Since the circumstances in our lives have changed drastically since my husband passed away last month, I've been offered a job out of state and have to accept it. We have to move quickly since the job started ASAP. So I'm sad to inform you that Joshua won't be returning this year. You have been so great to get him in this year, and his DDD funding and scholarship have just all finally been settled. I really appreciate all you have done for JJ. I will continue to recommend life to all of our friends like I did with, and it's redacted. We're going to do our best to adjust to our new life. Please let me know what you need me to do to withdraw him. You can email me a withdrawal form or whatever needs to happen. Thank you again, Life Academy. We really loved our time with you. I bet these poor teachers are so traumatized with all this. You really do bond with your students, especially special needs students. You kind of feel like they're your babies. So ultimately, they couldn't get Lori to follow the formal process with signatures, and they never got a records request from his new school, and they said that was not normal. Now, we know that JJ eventually will be pulled out in a few weeks, or he just doesn't show back up. September 5th, staff from JJ's school emails Lori and wishes her the best and asks for her to confirm his last day. Lori responds the Friday before Labor Day, which would have been September 4th. So September 6th, Alex is at Chad's property. And this was from 12:41 to 12:53 p.m. And it looks from the pings he was in and around the house, but not in the areas where the kids' bodies were eventually found. This is interesting to me because this is a couple of days before Tylee's murder. And you have to wonder, what were they doing over there? 12:41 to 12:43, we know Tammy had a job to support his little broke butt. So it might have been a time where it was just him there and they could start planning. I would not be surprised if we don't find that out. So Tylee and JJ are seen playing with toys after a rain, and a neighbor took pictures of this saying that they thought it was really odd since they dumped a lot of plush toys in a rain puddle. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to credit KSL5 TV for this. There is a photo. It's very blurry. JJ is in the green, bent down, playing with the toys. Tylee is standing up in the black pants and gray shirt. This must be a neighborhood kid. But there was a text exchange between neighbors or something, maybe a spouse, I don't know, but it says, "What's going on out there?" And the reply was, the new kid brought a laundry basket full of toys, mostly like stuffed animal plushie types, and dumped them all in the massive puddle in the corner of the grass. So, I mean, that's no harm there if he was having fun. And you do see Tylee is out there playing with him. Otherwise, nobody would have been watching this poor boy. And he's a runner. That's the other thing, too, is it comes in later. But so September 7th, according to a friend, this was the last day Tylee posted on her Instagram. This kid was interviewed by investigators. So on the same day, Tammy Daybell volunteers at Rexburg Rescue Run. Lori logs onto JJ's old school app. She always logs into that around important times. This is a day before Tylee's last seen. So Lori logs onto JJ's. Oh, yeah, we just did that. Sorry, y'all. Lori does a podcast on this day, which is the 7th, with Melanie Gibb, To Feel the Fire. What is a baptism of fire? The description says, following up on their first Feel the Fire podcast, Melanie and Lori share what their baptism of fire was like with insightful references that an ancient wise man Nephi spoke about. How did it help Melanie in her own life with a special needs son, with feeling like she didn't know how to navigate her challenges, and what it took for her to experience that clean feeling in her heart? Lori is so descriptive with ways that fire can feel to all of us and how it has manifested in her life. She speaks from great conviction and experience that we can all learn from. I think that fire she was referring to was that loin fire, y'all. So a family member finds out from a coworker who lived nearby that Colby had been driving Alex's truck for about a month. I believe it was Alex's truck. Was it Charles's? We'll double check on that, y'all. JJ told a neighbor's kid that him and Tylee would be leaving soon. JJ said he was going to his grandmother's house, and the kid's dad didn't think much of it since school would be starting soon. Also, he was told that Tylee would be going to BYU-I. Local News 8 reported that Alex lived with Lori for about a week before actually renting his own apartment. So September 8th, here we go. Man, I always dreaded doing Charles's murder, and then here we go with these poor babies. Chad Googles south-southwest wind direction and visited a website. What is the definition of south-southwest wind direction? The same day, Chad and Tammy signed paperwork increasing the amount of her life insurance policy to the maximum amount allowed. We know too that that Summer in a couple episodes ago said that Tylee had to have been killed first because she would have never allowed anybody to hurt JJ. And it's really weird to think. I mean, there are reasons, obviously that we can throw around. One being she knew too much about Charles. Maybe at this point, it's like Tylee was sassy. Did she threaten to tell what she knew? Were they just in the way? I mean, it's maybe we'll never know, but yeah. Okay. So on September 8th, regarding the GPS on the phones, Lieutenant Ron Ball said in his affidavit of probable cause that phones can be pinged within 6 meters of the actual location. Super accurate stuff. So on the 8th, Tylee is last seen in Yellowstone National Park. Her phone pings there at 1:09 p.m. And this is also where her photo is hugging JJ with Alex beside them. I have those photos here. I'm going to add these to the stream on YouTube. The photo was taken at 2:49 p.m. local time. Lori is also in a selfie with JJ. Investigators note they were seen entering Yellowstone in Alex's Ford F-150. There are some photographs of them at the entrance by cameras. And ultimately, this is the last known sighting of Tylee. JJ was seen running back and forth in and out of the frame in front of Old Faithful. And actually, before the kids were ever found, when they asked people at Yellowstone to look through pictures and videos to see if they maybe by chance captured Tylee on camera, we found kind of a archive of Yellowstone footage, and you could see JJ running, and he was in that little green top. We're pretty sure we saw him running back and forth several times. It was blurry, nothing close. So at some point, Alex texts Zulema and says they're at Yellowstone with the kids. And investigators note this is the last time both kids are mentioned in texts between Zulema and Alex. Now, up on the right, if you're looking on YouTube, I've always wondered if you guys can zoom in, who is Alex looking at eye level? Now, I'm sure there's a chance that it was just a fellow park goer that he was talking to, but if you look, he's looking straight at somebody and kind of smiling. Alex was around 6'1", 6'1", according to his autopsy. Chad, maybe like 6'1", 6'2". That would be in his height. Lori, 5'5", 5'6". But anyways, I've always thought that was interesting. Looks like he's definitely talking to somebody. And here's the thing. We don't know where Chad was during all this time. We have not seen phone pings from him. That'll come in at trial. So is it possible Chad went to Yellowstone with them? I guess it definitely is possible. But it looks like he's talking to somebody who's on his eye level there. So anyways, here we go. At 6:40 p.m., Alex's phone exited the west entrance of Yellowstone. And from 6:45 to 7:02, cell phone data has Alex at Buckaroo's Barbecue Grill in West Yellowstone. At 8:37 p.m., Alex returns to Rexburg and is pinged at Lori's unit. So 9:35 to 9:53 p.m., Alex goes to a gas station named Mavericks. And I'm curious what they saw on surveillance when they went and pulled that footage. I also wonder what he bought. Hopefully that will come in. 10:44 to 11:15, Alex returns to Lori's apartment. 11:44, Alex is in his apartment. So now we're going to go after midnight into the ninth when we believe Tylee was murdered. From 12 a.m. to 12:44 a.m., he's in his apartment, but 2:42 a.m. to 3:37, that's a total of 55 minutes. In the morning, Alex is at Lori's apartment. Now, investigators say this is significant because he's in there in the middle of the night, and this is the only time in September he was at Lori's between midnight and 6 a.m. My question is this. We got 3:37 is when he's in her unit. We don't pick him back up until 4:47 a.m. when he goes back to his own apartment. So we've got almost an hour there where we don't know where he was. They're not saying he was in Lori's. They're not saying he was in Alex's. Could it be that they left this part out on purpose because they didn't need to put it in that probable cause affidavit? Maybe. So much we're going to learn at trial. Also, I want to know where Chad and Lori's phone pings were during these overnight hours. We just don't know yet. So at 8:59 a.m., Alex leaves the townhomes, and at 9:21 a.m., he is on Chad's property at the east end of the barn near the pet cemetery and the fire pit. So I'm going to throw another picture up here. I did this. This is a satellite image of the day that Tylee was buried, we think, on Chad's property. So you got the Daybell house, the pond where JJ's remains were found. You got the barn, and if you look where that arrow is pointing, there is a black piece of ground. Before this date, it did not show that there. So this is a satellite image of Chad's property taken on September the 9th, 2019. I believe it was later in the day when this was taken. So you've got a satellite miles and miles up in space, essentially showing the evil deed they did that day right there. Insane. And that's the thing is, number one, we know they were really brazen with how they did everything, with talking about things on text. And, I always go back to Chad saying something about changing the beneficiary. And he says, I bet he couldn't do it after those 2 bullets in his chest. So, it's just they were not smart in a lot of ways. And clearly, because this is how they found the kids' bodies, is Alex had his phone. And they started looking at these phone pings and realized, wow, Tylee was last seen on the 8th. Let's see where Alex was on the 9th. Oh, Lori's house in the middle of the night, Chad's property. He was at this property the longest of any time he was ever there. So at 10:39 a.m., they don't know if either Alex left Chad's for a minute or his phone pinged on a tower in St. Anthony, which is about a 5-minute drive from Chad's property. Then we know back at 10:57 to 11:39, Alex is back at Chad's. So out of the 4 visits to Chad's property in September, this one was the longest, which is 2.5 hours. That hour during the night where there's a gap and they don't say where he is curious. But here's the thing, and it's not pleasant, and trigger warning, because we're going to talk about how Tylee was found. We know she was dismembered. We know she was burned. So at some point that had to take place, and I can't imagine it took place in those townhomes. I really just think it was on Chad's property somehow. Maybe he took her there in the middle of the night when that hour is just missing. Who knows? So, after you do all these foul things to your niece, I guess it makes you hungry, because at 11:52 to 12:02, Alex's phone pings at the Del Taco in Rexburg. The rest of the day, it seems like he stays at his apartment. So on the day Tylee was buried, on June 1st, 2020, investigators found this text between Chad and Tammy that was sent by Chad to Tammy. Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt like I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the upcoming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun and lost my place. And he was still walking along. I got close enough that one shot did the trick. He is now in our pet cemetery. Fun times. So at 11, Tammy doesn't respond, either because she knows her husband's having an affair or, she's working because he's not. At 11:56, Chad texts Tammy again, gonna shower now and then go right for a while at BYU. Love you. 2:47 p.m., Tammy responds to Chad, good for you. I always like that response. It's not like, wow, interesting, more good for you. Good for you. 2:48, Chad says, I'm back home now. So in the report, investigators note that text is super suspicious because normally raccoons are nocturnal. They note that a neighbor of Chad's, whose names are Matt and I think it's Regan, that Chad's son Garth told him in mid-July of 2019 that Chad shot a raccoon out of a tree during the day in response to a question about them hearing a gunshot. So we're going to end there. We're going to kind of make this a little bit of a shorter one because I feel like this involving Tylee deserves its own episode, and we will do the same for JJ leading up. So you see, they weren't smart about anything, and I'm glad they weren't because it took a very long time to find those kids. And then you think back, we've seen footage of Kay and Larry at that property. They passed by there and there's snow on the ground. And you're just thinking, the kids are right there. Eventually, before the kids' bodies are found, there is a search warrant for Chad's house in January. The kids are there. I wonder at what point, officially last year, they put this together. I think it was probably April or May is what I'm guessing, just because I'll have to go back. In the report, it says that somebody from the FBI had asked somebody to kind of pinpoint all the times that Alex was over at Chad's, and then it maybe went from there. Eventually, we find out that Tammy's sister comes in and helps authorities figure out things, and I thought that was poetic because ultimately she did help investigators locate the pet cemetery where unfortunately they found Tylee's remains. So anyways, all right, guys, I'll be back tomorrow for an end of the week episode. We're plowing through this timeline. And all right, I really hope you guys have a good evening. We'll see you soon.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.